Today, I want to share with you 5 plugins I've been enjoying for producing music. I'm not sponsored by any of them or anything. They've just made my life easier, and I'm hoping they'll do the same for you. And I want to try to get through this in 5 minutes, so let's go. So first up is the Pro Q3 from FabFilter, which is an equalizer. And for the most part, all EQs pretty much do the same thing. One thing I really like about this though is that you can solo the band that you're listening to in order to tweak it. So let's say we have this pulse. You can create a band here and actually listen for the different sections that we want to manipulate. So if I want to bring up this pitch here, give that some emphasis, but I want to get rid of some of the mud, I can hear it's a little thick, so maybe I'll dip that down, and so on. It's just a really nice feature to actually be able to hear specifically the frequencies you're trying to isolate. What I used to do was like pull this way up to try to be able to hear it, and now you don't have to do that anymore. You can just kind of solo. You're like, oh, okay, that's where that little tapping is happening. Next is Reference 2 by Mastering the Mix. This is the newest one to me. I've only just started using this. For example, I've got this cue here. Let's say I want to compare that to a track from Ori and the Blind Forest that also features that female vocalist. So what I can do is drop the reference track in here and then find a section of it that I want to listen to compare. Now I can go back and forth between my track and the reference and compare them. So one thing I'm really noticing in the reference track is that there's actually a lot more openness and space in the low end. Also, it feels like the stereo field is much wider in the reference track, so that's another thing that I could maybe go in and try to manipulate. And it's just so much easier to kind of A/B clicking back and forth between these two, rather than having like an audio track in your mix and you're soloing it and then you're muting it and sometimes you forget. Whatever, I find this to be a lot easier. By the way, we might actually get to 100,000 subscribers this year, which is insane, and I never thought would be possible. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps me out. You can always change your mind later. Thank you. Next up is Cinematic Rooms from Liquid Sonics. It sounds fantastic. I'm not super picky about all the little detailed settings, honestly, with a reverb, but something that I found really handy actually was the proximity feature here, where you could kind of mess with how close or far things feel. We could have our cellos feel adjacent, real nice and close. Or we could put them farther away. It's not a drastic change in sound, but it's this slight changes in perception that can really elevate our mix. And again, we can kind of put our different sections in different places in the room. It sounds really nice. So far, so good. The next one is Ozone 9 from iZotope, probably the most well-known of the 5 I'm discussing here. One of the things that I didn't have until I recently upgraded was the Master Assistant, which is this kind of AI auto analysis. It's analyzing the audio, it's going to apply all these different mastering settings to it, like EQ and dynamics. Here we can gain, match, and compare them. What it's already doing, I can hear a lot more clarity, which I think is mostly coming from the EQ. It's a little brighter and crisper. Yeah, you want to use your ears. You want to be going through and doing all of this yourself. Unless you're like me, and sometimes you have to output like 3 TV tracks in a day, and it's just, you don't have time or budget to send this to a mastering engineer. So you have the Master Assistant do 90% of the work for you. Come on, that's great. I love it. So why not just do that, I think. This last one I feel like is going to be a bit controversial. This is the Greg Wells Mixcentric. And it's one of those things where it's like you should never just let one knob where you really don't know what it's doing have an effect on your music. But again, it's in that speed and that quickness thing. And whenever I use it, it does make stuff sound better. So what it does is it applies EQ and compression and harmonic distortion to your overall mix to just kind of enhance the sound. You don't feel that much difference, honestly, I think, until you turn it off. You hear how much darker and muddier all of a sudden it got? Is this the right way to do things? No, I don't think so, but is this the best way to get tracks out quickly and have them sounding at a high value? Yeah, I think it's great. As fun as orchestration and counterpoint are, production is an essential skill for a modern composer, which is why you can't afford to miss this video here, where I show you exactly which parts of a synthesizer to focus on so you can make your own sounds and start developing your personal voice. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.